Здравствуйте, меня зовут Александр Sverdlov. Я хочу извиниться, что большая часть этой презентации будет на английском, потому что я в 7-летнем возрасте уехал из России, и технический английский у меня практически не существует. Так что... Так. Около 10 гигабайт информации. Весь формат будет. Alright, I'll move in English. We will only do labs. There will not be any presentations and no PowerPoint. So, if you want to have this event useful for yourself, it will be very nice if you actually do the exercise, because otherwise it will be difficult to remember it all. If you don't do the exercise, if you don't have a laptop, or if you didn't have the time to copy all the files, just copy the install folder and the student workbook, because the student workbook has everything step by step. You will be able to repeat it at home at your leisure, when you have time. Right. So, is there anybody who has copied all the files already? Right. I'll wait a few minutes more, and then we'll start. Our schedule and the amount of topics we will cover today is surprisingly much richer than you expected. What you have in your programs is less detailed than what we are. So let me just go over the student workbook. We'll cover memory forensics in as deep as possible, starting with volatility, moving on with redline. And the network forensics will primarily focus on manual work, so that you would understand how the actual forensic process works. And then we will move to graphical programs, which will ease the whole process when you investigate traffic in the future. And there is a lot of material to cover, really a lot of material, so we'll move as fast as possible. If you have questions, raise them. Otherwise, I'll really try to cover as much material as possible in these 4 hours, because 4 hours, you have to agree, it's not really enough to cover memory and network forensics. First of all, if you are going to do forensics, and that's primarily related to incident response, you will need to understand that in incident response, there is a really tight timeline. If there is an incident and your management requires you to fix it as soon as possible, there is a lot of pressure to just reboot the server, or fix some configuration, cut the power, cut the network if there is a security incident. You shouldn't do this. First of all, I want to speak about incident response for a while people are copying data. So, in incident response, first you need to have the procedures and policies in place in order to have a workbook, step-by-step workbook, what happens in an incident. If you don't have it, you will have to deal with all the pressure from everybody in the company. If there is an incident, you will have to deal with the pressure. You will have to do random actions. This is not good. You have to have your policies and procedures in place for responding to incidents. And once you have your policies and procedures in place, probably the first thing you will do during an incident is acquire the most volatile data. So if you have a server, let's say a server has been compromised. It is a critical server. It has your website, your company website, or your e-commerce website, and it stopped all the sales of your company. So what do? Most people reboot the server. If you reboot the server, you lose a lot of the evidence. I'm not going to say percentages because it's different, but let's say 50 or more percent of the evidence, you lose it as soon as you reboot. So as soon as you realize there is an incident, today we'll learn what we need to do to acquire all the volatile data and then move on with troubleshooting. So acquiring volatile data is part of our lab, and dealing with this volatile data, investigating it, and extracting as much information as possible is also in the lab. There is an order in which you should acquire data during an incident. The order is by how volatile is the data. So the most volatile data is the RAM. So there is an incident, you take the RAM, you start the network capture, and then you acquire the configuration files, you acquire the logs, and lastly you acquire the disk image. So that is the order you should respond to incident. Acquire the RAM, or acquire a RAM image, then start acquiring network dumps, then acquire logs, and then acquire hard disk images. When you have acquired all the evidence in a proper forensic way, we'll talk about that, then you can start rebooting the server, troubleshooting it, and fixing the problems. Because if you don't do this, if you reboot the server, if you start troubleshooting right away, if you lose all the evidence, first you lose the chance to prosecute, and if you don't prosecute, you will basically give the hackers to get out of jail free card. And then you might be liable, especially if you're working in the States or Australia or European Union, you might be liable for not following due diligence, not doing your best to during the incident. So it is better to do your best, create your policies and procedures for incident response. Do your best, acquire the evidence. If you don't have the time to investigate it, okay, but just acquire the evidence and then move on. Right. Question: has anybody been able to do to copy all the files and actually start the VM? No? Well, let's wait a few more minutes, and because I don't want to start before at least some of you have all the information available and are able to start at the end. If you feel that you don't have enough time to, or you don't want to copy the VMs, you can copy From the install folder, if you have a Windows machine, you can because installing volatility is a lot of work, installing it properly, so you may pass that. You can install Mandiant Threadline on your Windows machines, and you can install, let's say, and you can copy sysinternals, the sysinternals package. If you don't already have it on your machine, you can copy it from the install folder and copy the Redline. Redline is probably the most important tool you will need to use in your incident response practice. So the Redline labs are really important. If you don't want to copy 10 gigabytes of data, install Redline. Install Memorize, copy sysinternals, which contains a strings program from Microsoft, which they copied from. And that was enough to start. Anybody ready yet? Так, вначале нужно стартовать XP virtual machine. Last Mac The XP VM is our most important, obviously, VM for today. We'll spend 80% of our time in the XP VM. Roughly 30% will be spent with Redline. So if you don't want to install a VM, install Redline. Install, copy the sysinternals tool. Also, in the student workbook, the first lines of memory forensics part of the student workbook have the instructions for installing volatility. Here. So you may follow this. It will take you probably about 10 to 20 minutes to follow this guide, to install volatility on your machine, which will allow you to participate in the labs. And I would really like to participate in the labs. The volatility labs are especially useful in understanding how memory forensics works, how extracting the data works. It's very important for your basics. anybody has any issues with starting the VMs or anything, we are hands-on labs, so call me, ask me for help. I'll come and I'll try to do my best to help you to start the exercise.
There are some problems to connect to Wi-Fi.
Oh, Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's possible. Use the cables.
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah. All right. Well, Denise is the guy to help. Oh, I did something stupid. If anybody wants to copy from a USB, I can give you USB drives to copy from. I'm really sorry for forgetting this. These are 2 USB drives. If anybody has large drives, you can help by, after somebody copies it, you can help replicating the USB drive, so more people will be able to participate. Copying from USB will probably take as much time as copying from the network. It's about 15-20 minutes of copying. And then you will need to spend another 10 minutes in importing the actual VMs. So it's 30 minutes to work before you can join the lab. But as I see, we will not be able to wait for everybody. We just have to start soon because there is a lot of information to cover. Allow as much RAM as you have in your laptop for the XP machine, because it will need it in the man-down red line exercises as much as possible. Some machines will not, by default the XP machine has 3 gigs of RAM, and on some machines it might not start, it might fail, so if it fails starting up for you, just decrease the amount of RAM until you get to the green line. There is a green line in the settings. Set it to the green line and start your virtual machine then.
Can you hear me?
All right, I'll use the list. I'll repeat again for anybody who has come late but is still trying to copy the VMs. The order of things is you copy all the data from the students folder, you install VirtualBox from the install folder, then you add the extension pack from the install folder, and then you double click the xp.ova file to import the XP machine, and then you can start. We'll start sharp at 10:30. That leaves us 5 minutes. Again, you have time. If you're really fast, you could probably install volatility on your machine. That's the full installation. There is a standalone volatility executable which you can also use. It is functional almost to 100% to what we are going to be doing today. It will not be able to extract data from a RAM image. It will not be able to extract the TrueCrypt password. So this lab you won't be able to follow with the standalone executable, but you can really fast. You can Google volatility standalone and download it from the official website. It's just a few megs, so you can do that. If you just can't follow up with the 10 gigabytes of copying. Right, I really don't want to keep you waiting, so we'll start because there are a lot of people here, and many of you are probably falling asleep already after 30 minutes of waiting, so I don't want this to happen. This thing here will probably install updates for a while. All right, we're stuck in the update process. Anybody ready yet? All right, let's talk about the setup for a while. On your desktop, you will see many of the tools you will need. And you'll see an encrypted drive, a true encrypted drive. We will be extracting the password from memory today, from a memory dump. We will use a lot Notepad++ and Network Miner and some of the sysinternal tools and Wireshark. In your C drive in the VM are all the tools you'll need, namely volatility, the old version of volatility for extracting the password from memory, Volix, NAFT is for extracting packets from memory dump, and so on. Here are your 3 memory images which we'll be working with today. Stuxnet VMM is a memory image taken from a machine which was infected with Stuxnet. And xpmem.ro is a memory image taken on this machine. With the Stuxnet image, we will learn how to analyze an image and find evidence that it was infected and there is a malware in memory. And lastly, at the end of the exercise, we will learn what were the investigators doing in their own lab, which is also interesting. And I think it's a good time that we start. So I'll just do the labs because I'm almost certain most of you were not able to copy everything, and it will be sort of a presentation, hands-on labs rather than you doing it. Unfortunately, that's due to the large size of the lab files. Right. Let's see if I can type with one hand and speak. Or, oh, we have a... Check, check. Test. Right. So we have Python installed, and Python is needed for volatility to work. When you install this at home, just follow the procedure in the student workbook. Make sure to have the student workbook and the install folder. Let me just... Make sure you copy this folder, at least this folder, because it will be important. If you try to do the labs at home, you will need the install folder, and for some of the exercises you will need the network forensics folder, where are our test PCAP files and some very useful PDF files. The VMs you can probably build yourself following the student workbook. And you can find the memory images we discussed today. Stuxnet VMem is freely available on the internet, so you can download that as well. The first thing you need to do when you acquire a memory image, actually let's first talk about acquiring the memory image. The easiest way to acquire a memory image is using dump.it.exe. So you just double click dump it and press Y, yes, and that's it. If you're doing this remotely using psexec, it's the same. So it's really fast. In an incident response scenario, it takes just a couple of minutes to acquire the memory image, so you're sure whatever is happening in the memory, you have your evidence. Make sure you always do a memory dump whenever there's an incident. So this machine is probably a little bit slower, but it's still really fast. And once it's done, it records the image right there where the executable is. It will record the image with the date in the file name, date and time. So the first thing to do when investigating with volatility is find out where the image was taken from, so you will know your correct commands. And for that, we use the image info switch. Image info will show you what machine has this image been taken from, so you will be able to use the correct profile for your next commands. You will see all the commands in the student workbook in black, and some of the output is also in black. It takes a while, and it will most likely show that this is a Windows XP machine. The memory dump is done. It took just 2 minutes, and you press enter and it exits. Since we won't be using this image, I'll delete it to save disk space. Actually, I'll power my own machine because it's probably faster. Give me just a minute. Anybody has a VGA connector? No? All right. Right, I'll cancel that because I already know the correct switch. So for our next command, we use the profile for Stuxnet VMM, which is the difference between XP2, Service Pack 2 and Service Pack 3 for volatility. The developers say there is a difference in the switches. So far I found out that all the switches work just fine with SP3 and SP2, just probably for more specialized commands they want, but for all of our labs you can use SP2 or SP3, doesn't matter. We'll go over all the commands one by one. First of all, you need to find out what was going on in the machine at the time of the incident. So, oops. Yeah. So sometimes sometimes you will get results, sometimes you won't, and there are different command switches. As you will see now, we won't get any results from the network, but we will use a different switch. For example, sockets. And you run all the commands in sequence. If you're analyzing Windows 7 image, you should run the NetScan switch, which gives you much more information. Alright, so you see what was going on the network there. You see the network addresses, and you see the PHDays which are listening. And then we will be interested in seeing the actual processes. So we could use the pslist command. But first, and I want you to remember this switch, the user assist switch is extremely useful in investigations, because it shows what were the users doing prior to you acquiring the image. It extracts data from the user assist registry, and it's a lot of information, so we'll pipe it to user assist txt. And it basically shows you all the programs they've run, most file dialogues they've seen in a text format. In our case, these are the malware researchers who took the memory dump, and now we'll open. Let's start Notepad++. We'll open user assist file should be here. Oops. So as you can see, first thing they did, they somehow accessed the user files and settings transfer wizard. Then they, the researchers installed a hex editor using MSI exec. And then they opened the Internet Explorer. As you can see everything they did. Then they launched Visual Studio. That's everything they did prior to taking a memory dump. And you can basically see the history of their actions. Explorer suite, they installed immunity debugger, Notepad++. Really, if you're not using Notepad++, you should, because you can even do network forensics, as you will see today, with Notepad++. You can. It has hex editors plugins, but don't use them. But it's a very powerful editor, especially for large files. It's very useful. And now you can see everything else they did. They installed volatility. Actually, that's one of the plugins for volatility. SSD, Python, EDA Pro. They follow the guide for installing volatility. sysinternals, Proxmon. Process monitor is another very useful utility if you're doing investigations or deep troubleshooting. Obviously, they know that. And that's it. And then they took the memory dump, and then our history ends. But as you can see, that's probably one of the most useful commands. If you're trying to prove something, if that's an internal investigation, for example, you're trying to prove the user did something. If you're in a corporate environment, it's highly unlikely you will ever investigate a security breach. Statistics show that you will most likely not notice it and thus not investigate it. And the other side is that you will most likely investigate users and their actions, and you have to prove to HR that they need to fire this person or discipline them in some way or something like that. You will most likely need to prove what were they doing on their computer prior to you taking the memory dump. All right, let's move on. Next, we need to extract a list of all processes in memory during the memory dump. And for that, we use pslist. And now I'll ask you a question. That's not high enough, but still. If you will be able to notice anything wrong with this memory image. All right, you see a listing of processes. You see, let me just change something here. You see the PIDs and the parent process IDs. That's important. When doing investigations of memory dumps, always take notice of process IDs, parent process IDs. What's wrong with this process list? Can you find out where is the most likely where is the malware hiding? Notice the parent process IDs again. Process IDs, parent process ID. If you are into Windows, the operating system, you should be able to notice where's the problem. I'll give you 2 minutes to think about it, or 1 minute, or less. You are close. Anybody else? Yes. SVC host can be, I mean, all services are children of SVC hosts, so it has to spawn many times. All right, we don't have enough time. We lost 46 minutes, so I'll try to move fast. You should only have one LSAS process in the system. And here we see 3 of them. So which one is the malicious one? And then to dig deeper, we run PS3, which shows us the process tree. Using the process tree, it's easier to determine which process is most likely malicious because it's out of place. It's not where it should be. All right. So it's a better picture now, and you can see LSAS. Oops. You can see LSAS here, another one here, and there are 3 of them. Let's see, where is the 3rd one? Anyway, I seem to be blind today. But anyway, you should take a note and take notes. In an incident response scenario, what you should do is you get notified by your boss that there is an incident. You open a notebook, preferably on paper because you won't be able to transfer your file from computer to computer, and start typing everything you do. I sat on this computer, I ran these commands, I got this output. If you have the output, save it somewhere. Take a note of everything you do. Take a note of parent IDs, processes. You literally can write down, I believe this process is malicious because this and that. But write everything down, because at the end of the incident, you will have this timeline of your actions. If this goes to court, somebody sues your company, or your company sues somebody else, this list of actions, your evidence which you acquired, will help you win. If you don't write down your actions, you have a less chance to win, because their lawyers will be able to say, to contradict you and try to prove you didn't do your due diligence. And PS3 is not really the best. We have many command switches here. We don't have time for them. You can try them at home. We will move. Let's see. To PSX view. And this command is really useful in finding out rootkits. And it's useful because it displays processes from various points of view in the system. And you should take a really good look at this column here compared to the others. And when it completes, I will explain why. Because malware usually hides from PS list, from the process lists. You won't be able to see the malware there. In our case, it doesn't hide, but in many cases, it does hide. So you won't see it in PS list. If you see it somewhere else, and you don't see it in PS list, you have a very good indication this is a malware, because valid processes don't do this. We also have the get seeds. You can view handles by process. It's not related to our task in finding which are the malicious files. So we'll pause them because we don't have time. You can repeat the exercise at home. By the way, while we're doing this, let's, are we in the VM? Yeah, all right. Let's start something else, which is also very interesting. On our computer, we have a memory image of this machine, and the memory image was taken at the time when TrueCrypt volume, an encrypted volume, was mounted. And that means we can extract the password from memory. It only works for now with volatility 1.3 underscore beta. There was a researcher who published an executable to do this very easy, but then he was forced to unpublish it. I searched for days. It's nowhere on the internet. Anyway, we run CryptoScan. Oops. CryptoScan CMD, and it asks us for where the image is, and it's xpmem.roll. Press enter, and I know that it's trying to type with one hand. All right. And now it runs. It will run for probably an hour or more. It's extremely slow. What it's doing, it's going through all strings in memory, and it does. It checks against the if this string is somehow related to the TrueCrypt driver, and it's a very slow process going back and forth. And in the meantime, what it does on disk. In this folder, it creates outputs. The password is empty, but as time goes by, this password file will grow with potential strings. You may even not wait until it's done. If you open the file at some point in time, you will see your password. For this to work, the TrueCrypt, let's see where it was. It doesn't always work. So if you want to mount, oops, it's a little slow. We select the file. It's on the desktop. Very busy now. Here's the encrypted drive. We try to mount it. And here, very important checkbox. If you check this box, and somebody does a memory dump on your machine, they will see the password. If you don't check this box, this specific tool, I'm not saying there are not others out there, there are others out there which don't care about this checkbox. But if you check this box and you type your password, it's very user-friendly. It will not ask you for your password that often, but it will be stored in memory. If you don't check it, you will have to enter your password more often. So for this to work, if you're doing the lab at home, make sure the checkbox is selected. Most people do because they try to avoid extra work. So this will run for a while. While it runs, we will move on with our other tasks. Let's see. Right, we already have the Stuxnet vmem in our CMD. Oh, it's yeah, still running. I'll kill this because some machines depend on the hard drive performance. Oh, you see. It was stuck in some command there. So, here is what I wanted to show you. these are all the views the system has on processes. Some views don't see all processes. You shouldn't worry about that. You should worry only if PS list says it's false and the others say it's true. That's what you should be looking for if you're doing malware analysis or analysis of memory dump, which supposedly has a malware on it. And now we'll run our vol shell. Which will allow us to check the we have three LSAS PIDs. We need to find out which one of them is malicious. And we need to check the priority they started with. And again, I suspect, since I see the performance of this machine, there is not even a sense to run this because it will run for 30 minutes or more. I'll just explain it. In your student workbooks, let me open the student workbook because the output is already there. In your student workbook, let's see, we have the three PIDs. They are our suspect PIDs. So it also explained everything in there. You can't directly copy this into the command line because Python needs specific tabs. PDF Yellow Reader doesn't understand tabs really well, so you copy this, you paste it inside of Notepad++. Let's see where it was. Oh, where's my machine? Here. CryptoScan is still running. It will probably run for an hour. So what you do is you place your cursor right at the column, delete, press enter, press tab. Notepad++ already tabulates properly. Delete space, press enter, press tab, and you will just repeat it in your own environment. Copy it, paste it into the command line, and it will work. But I don't want to wait for this to end, so I'll just show you the output. It shows you the output per process ID, and you see the priority 9 for process ID 680. And obviously this has a higher priority than the others. And it shows us really well that A68 and 1928 are not with the right priority. And we have our winner. The case is solved. We have the suspect processes, and then you can do whatever you want. I'll show you how to extract data from, how to extract the actual executables with a different tool, and you can analyze them later. Right. You can also extract hashes in order to break them, but I mean, we are all familiar with hashes and breaking hashes, so that's not really worthy of spending time on. I'll just explain how it works. So you list your registry hives with hive list, and then you note starting memory offset of the SAM and the system here and here, and you copy them here. Y is the system and S is the SAM. They couldn't use S for both. And here you see the hash, and you can just Google it, and Google is the most powerful hash cracker, and it shows that it's password. And now we'll try to extract files from a memory dump using foremost. It's it's easier to do it in Linux because you just install foremost in Linux and run it against your memory image. But in our case, we are in an XP machine, so we will. I'll kill this. All right. Let's start Sigwin. Wherever it was. Anyone familiar with Foremost? Raise your hand. No? Right. So we have one person who is familiar with Foremost. Foremost is a program which tries to extract files from anything, basically, based on file signatures in the beginning and the end of the file. Unfortunately, RAM is not really a file system. So Foremost will extract just a few files, like less than 10 useful files. But if this is a suspect machine, imagine this is somebody involved in child pornography or something like that. You only need one image to put them in jail. So this is enough. Let's see, Sigwin. The system is very busy right now. Foremost is already in the virtual machine. You need to download Foremost from somewhere on the internet. Foremost.exe. It's already in your students folder, so you don't have to spend time looking for it. So you copy Foremost, paste it into the Sigwin bin folder, and then you'll be able to use it. All right. I already ran this, so I had to delete the output folder and run this again. Foremost, by default, oops, wrong window. By default, creates an output folder, and it's processing. It's very fast. It will finish in probably a minute or two. So don't trust Foremost for all of your investigation. Just remember that it's one more tool in your arsenal. And we can watch the output folder of Foremost here. First it creates all these folders, and then it will delete some of them when it's ready, and it will also output its actions in audit.txt. And while it's working, we'll move on further, and we need to use strings, and we need to use strings because memory probably contains everything we need to prove someone guilty or prove our theory of something regarding this memory image. And we can take two types of strings. First, we can take ASCII strings from the memory image, and then we can use Unicode strings. We can separate it in two separate files. That's what I recommend. And also, as you can see, by default, strings looks for strings with 3 or more characters. It's not really useful, so I recommend 8 or 10. Otherwise, your strings files will be gigabytes. It's not nice to look into gigabytes of files. And it really is unlikely you'll find a 3-character string useful in an investigation. There's also volatility strings, but we will use a different, there is a switch for volatility strings, but we'll use a different one. We'll use the sysinternal strings. It's already in the C windows, so. You output the output in a text file, obviously, because if you don't, you will have a problem. And it takes a while, and it will create, from experience, it creates 64 megs of strings. Inside, you just open it with Notepad++. Don't open it with the default Notepad. Open it with Notepad++. It's ready. Let's see. System is busy. Here's the file. And you see many of the strings are not useful, but you can search for HTTP. And here you can see all the URLs have been visited by this person prior to taking the memory dump, between the last reboot and taking the memory dump. Also, you'll see a lot of, if you're searching for HTTP, it will also obviously show all HTTP addresses loaded by executables from help files and whatnot. So you'll see a lot of garbage, but hopefully if this is a specific incident, you might be searching for a name, for a file, somebody stolen and transferred somewhere else, a confidential file. You search for the file name, you will find it here. If the memory dump was taken between the last reboot and the time the crime happened, you will see it here. So that's strings, and that's enough for strings. Next. CryptoScan is obviously taking its time. See, foremost is done. Let's see what foremost did. We're looking for output. This folder, see output, and you see all the txt. Not useful here. But let's say most likely we'll see some bitmaps. This here proves mostly that this person has worked with the default administrator account, because that's the user image. And we don't see much else, really. We'll see some executables. Most of them will not be able to execute. You will be able to analyze them in a hex editor, but you will most likely not be able to execute them, because foremost will fail at taking the right header and footer of the file. But it will succeed in taking the middle. So if there's something useful inside, if you are a malware analyst, you will be able to extract it. Some HTML files. Let's open them. Let's see what it is. After a while. And some GIF files. Some of them are. And some PNG files. Not really useful, but still something. And we are trying to extract as much as possible, so anything is something. Right, let's move on to Volex. Volex, the only reason I'll show you Volex is because it's a graphical user interface for volatility. It's a very poor graphical user interface written in Java, which is also not nice performance-wise. But It's very useful in extracting any executables you want to extract and analyze later. Oh, that's our HTML. Obviously, that's from Chrome, something from Chrome, and it's corrupted or not really an HTML. Anyway, we are waiting for Volix to start up. Slow. And first, you select your image. We will select the Stuxnet image in a while. Actually, you know what? The CryptoScan, it's really good for a presentation, but it's not good for the performance of this system. The output of CryptoScan is in your student workbook. If I don't kill this, it will take off all our time, so it will show the password. I know for a fact it will show the password. Actually, let's go into the output of CryptoScan and see what it did. So here's the output of CryptoScan, passwords. Oh, it's still empty. Oh, it has to reach stage 2 for it to start outputting anything, and we are still at stage 1, which is really slow. I'll queue it. We don't have the time. Right, Stuxnet VMM, open it. It will take a little while. It's now doing image info. The first switch we did at the start, all right. And here we select Service Pack 2 and all of the functions and click on load. Will take a while because it's running all of the commands. You remember each switch takes time and it's running in one by one, so it takes as much time as running them one by one. And what I wanted to show you is just you right click on an executable and you select dump. You can dump all processes in memory and it creates a folder dump PS. Let's see if we still have it in the virtual machine from a previous exercise. Volix. And yeah, you see, I already ran this in a previous exercise, so it is much more successful than Foremost in extracting executables. You will, sometimes it's a little bit corrupt, but it's in better quality than Foremost is able to do it. And you can dump all executables, which will dump absolutely everything which was in memory. And also, it's very useful for looking at handles. The only reason I wanted to show you Volix is for dumping executables. We don't have time for it to wait. So we'll move to the actual most useful part of memory forensics, and that's using Memorize to dump memory and Redline to analyze it. Memorize actually does almost the same, if not absolutely the same, which is done by our previous memory dump tool, dump it. This one here. So if you are building an incident response toolkit, just use dump it. And make sure you have a Mandiant collector. We will cover creating a collector later on. Now, Redline. This will be closed. This will be closed. Redline is the tool, and I really want to show you how Mandiant Redline works. So I hope you remember the collector. It's not here because we worked on a different machine, but if we start Mandiant Redline, it's really fast to create a collector. starts up. Create a comprehensive collector. Acquire a memory image. Say where we want it to be. And it's done. And this time we didn't acquire memory image. I just want to show you how it works really fast. And now we'll analyze the safe memory dump file, the Stuxnet memory dump file, because I want to show you how a memory dump without signatures, Mandiant Redline does not use signatures for detecting malicious files. It uses behavior signatures rather than file signatures. Right. Let me think about what else we can do in this time while we're waiting. Has anybody actually been able to start the VM on their machine? No? All right. While we're waiting, we can move on to network forensics. And for that, we'll need a different virtual machine, which is called Explico. Anybody heard of Explico? Explico is it's an application which you can install on almost any Linux distribution, and it analyzes, it aids in creating the case. It creates the case for you. You can add files to the case. It helps in the documentation, and also helps in extracting data from network dumps. However, it's not always useful, and I'll show you why and when it's good to use Explico. It's always good to have an investigative laptop, and one of the operating systems installed on it should be Explico. Or you can install Explico on your Kali Linux, or previous backtrack, now Kali. Oh. Somebody's file flash drive is FAT32. I don't know whose file. It will not be able to contain large files. So this flash drive, who has the blue flash drive? Anyway, won't be able to copy the file. Right. Machine there. This is a regular, any Linux works just fine. I just chose to install it on a XFCE distribution because I like it. In order to start Explico, you need to run a command. Just paste it. password for Explico root user is Explico.
When you started, you can access it via your web interface. And here, we won't waste time. I'll just show you how to create a new case. Create a new case.
Give the case a name, like
Column documents, for example, external reference, anything which gives you a clue. And then you have the case name, create a new session. Click on the session and upload the file. Now, when you click on upload, you need to wait for it to be decoded, roughly a minute. If this is a case for a court, you can take screenshots of everything you do, and you can take screenshots of the evidence when it's ready. Right, coding. While we're waiting, we can explore alternative pitfalls. Right. So here we go, and you can see all the DNS requests, ARC requests. And if you have Google Earth installed on the machine, you can open the KML. We don't have it, still a nice option. You have all the addresses on a wall, which is very pretty. And the web activity in the PCAP file can be seen here. And same for all images, which were in the PCAP file, can be seen here. Same for webmail and regular email. This is Yahoo email, which can be opened. You can listen to web calls. I don't think I have sound here, but you can listen. And see files which was transferred. Yeah, all kinds of things. And read chat, for example, read Facebook chat of these guys. There was common traffic in the world, and this is all on the So explicables can be used in such cases when you have a network dump and you want to use it as an evidence, and or if you don't want to use it as an evidence, you might just want to see what was going on. It is one of the ways to extract useful data from a memory dump, from a network dump. It is, however, not always working. For example, we will be analyzing a riddle given by MI5, the UK's secret services, and they have a riddle on their website, which if you solve it, you can apply if your grandfather is a British citizen and you have been living there for 50 years. You can apply for a job at MI5 if you are able to solve this case. As we will see, it's even kids can do this, but Explico can't. Explico can't analyze this file. So different cases,
different tools, you have to be aware of all the tools you might use. So that's why I'm showing Explico. We will not be using Explico anymore because it's too, let's say, noob-friendly, and we're here to learn. This is you already learned in 5 minutes everything you need to know about it. So that's it. We'll close it now. And yes. All right, maybe we'll see what happens here at the end. Hopefully. If not, if we are unable to wait for it to complete, I hope we will be. Just play with it. Download the Stuxnet daemon from the internet and hold the red line. It's free. It's absolutely free, as in beer, as in speech, actually. Very free. And play with it. It's, when you install it, it will copy the documentation in program files, the PDF with the documentation. You can read the document, 60 pages long, not very long. So, very good application. All right, let's move on with network forensics. For that, if you have the student guide, you can open it at the page where network forensics starts. And if you don't have the student guide in front of you, I'll open it here. We will discuss it as if this was a PowerPoint presentation. Right. ROCAP. ROCAP is a file you need to have in your network, in your incident response toolkit. It's a USB drive. ROCAP is an application which can be used in Windows XP, Windows 2003 only. It can dump network traffic without installing anything, without modifying any evidence, which is important. So when you run PCAP, when you run ROCAP, you can run it from a USB drive. And it's very useful. As you can see, you can just press the number of the interface. It's not building everything. That's the connected to some. Anyway, it should be there. Oh, I forgot to enter the. I have to connect to the. Can't connect yet, but still, what it does is just obvious takes a memory dump, a network dump, and saves it to a file, which is extremely useful. Usually, when you have to dump network traffic on a machine, you're investigating a machine, and you need to install the WinPCAP driver. You need to install probably WinDump or Wireshark, and this modifies evidence. You don't want to modify evidence in an investigation. Yeah. So this will work only in 2003 and XP. For later versions, you will need to actually install WinDump, and install WinPCAP. We won't be working with them because not ready to learn. What we will work with now is TCP flow. Anyone familiar with TCP flow? All right. TCP flow opens a network capture and separates it by flows. We can cover the different sides of the conversation, as you can see here. So what we'll do is we will open the MI5 challenge using TCP flow and see if we can actually flow. But first, I promised to show you how Notepad++ can be used for network investigations. So I'll show you now. Here, in the network forensic folder, you copy it and work at home. Try to replicate what we're doing here. There is the MI5 challenge. Here it is. MI5 WK, careers, use your IT skills, and you press on an image and the PCAP opens. What we'll do is we'll open it using Notepad++. Extremely easy challenge. We can call it a challenge. So, obviously we can't understand anything here. These are just network packets, network headers, packets. But, scroll down, what do you see now? What is this? Can anybody tell me what it is? Yes. This is an SMTP session. You can obviously see that there will be an email. So we're using just Notepad++, opening a PCAP file, we have found out the password to the attachment, which is hello world. We'll copy it. And then HTML. And the actual base 64, I call it attachment. So everything with enough tweaking and enough unnecessary labor, you can extract everything using just Notepad++. We won't use it. I just wanted to show you how useful this tool is. Next. I'll explain the switches. -S hides all unprintable characters. -C, the small c, outputs to the console. -E covers the session. And I forgot what this was. Oh, so that's the console. Both of those. All right. So it's much easier to see than using just Notepad++. You will need to improve scroll back. So here you can see the whole attachment. You can copy and paste it
and decode it right away. And you can see the whole conversation. Using TCP flow. It's very useful for investigations to start with TCP flow, see what the different sides of the conversation are saying. Just wanted to show it. POF is useful for identifying the operating system
And the operating systems of the participants in the conversation, in the network conversation. So you run POF, I don't know if it's installed here. No. I had to rebuild my virtual machines yesterday, 2 a.m. So some of the tools are not here. Is Dennis here? In the meantime, we'll open the same challenge in Wireshark, and I'll show you how to extract the data in Wireshark. So we already know there is SMTP traffic there using Notepad++ and TCP flow. So we just select SMTP as a filter. And right click and choose follow TCP stream. You can see the email here with the password. That's one part of the conversation. Be able to see the actual attachment. Okay. And we can choose just the conversation part which is interesting to us, which is 60 kilobytes. And take this attachment here and just copy it. Then we have a decoder utility. It's all explained in the workbook. You won't be able to repeat this. Paste file. We know that the file is called backup.rar. And choose decode. And it's decoded. And it should be on the desktop. That's the password. The password. Done. So we have a few images here, and MI5 believes that some people will give up here. Some people will say this is it. However, that's not an image. In order to solve this challenge, you need to open the image. You can open it in Notepad++, or you will open it in hex editor. with a hex editor, you can find out what this file is actually. What is this? This is Word 2007 format. So now you know what this file is, and you can just rename it. And open it. So that's basically solving the MI5 challenge in 5 minutes. Nothing too complex. You just open it in Wireshark, extract the attachment, and convert it using a base64 converter, and that's it. For the other files which were extracted, info.txt, they're just empty files. Here, you have to change the color. It's very basic, nothing special. So that's the MI5 challenge. Extremely easy. We'll move on to something much more interesting. That is to show you how things work. But if you want to do it really, really easy, you open it in Network Miner. And Network Miner is the tool you want to buy. It's €500, so it's relatively cheap. If you're doing network forensics, if your company needs to analyze pickup files often, just buy it. It's cheap. So let's run Network Miner and try to solve the MI5 challenge in less than a minute. Here it is. We see the size of the conversation, see the frames, we see all the files. You don't have to decode anything. You see a backup rar, index.html, just open the folder and work with that. It's extremely easy. You see the messages here, emails. It decodes emails, it decodes chat messages, it decodes anything. Credentials, if that was a pickup from Facebook, somebody opens their Facebook and you have the pickup file, you see the credentials here. It shows cookies, it shows plain text authentication, it shows FTP, anything you can see which is not encrypted will be listed here, everything. And there will not be DNS queries. You can search for keywords here. All clear text is extracted. So Network Miner is a tool you really want to. It's free. The free version just doesn't have the export capability. However, it has the open folder. So you open the folder and you have the files. So the free version works a little. It's not fully functional, but you should at least get the free version. At least get to use it. That works. Next. Oh, a very useful tool. Mandiant highlighter. Only people who are really deep into incident response know about this program. But as you can see, we won't have time to go over it. I'll just explain the screenshot. Or maybe we'll. No, let's see. It's a log analysis in network forensics. Part of network forensics is not just analyzing pcap files. have to understand that network forensics deals with all network devices, firewalls, proxies, web servers, anything which is connected to the network is part of the network forensics. If you have an incident which involves many network devices, you collect evidence from all of them. You collect memory dumps from your firewall. You collect memory dumps from the proxy if it's ongoing. You collect the proxy cache because it's very volatile. You need to collect the cache from the proxy before it's expired and deleted. So you collect the cache, collect the proxy logs, collect the firewall logs, collect the web server logs, collect the web server memory image, collect the suspect machine memory image. You need to prioritize what to do quick because all this information decays very fast. So you first take the network memory dumps, and then you do anything else. I'll show you later on. I have to move really fast. I'll show you how to extract information from a memory dump. For example, a memory dump of a firewall here. Let's go to NAFT. NAFT. And here we type, for example, pcap, and then our memory image. This one, for example. And here it takes a memory image. This memory image, XP laptop 2005-0625, is available for free from the internet. You can download it. You can play with NAF. NAF can extract packets from anything, absolutely anything, any memory dump. It can, if you have a PlayStation Portable and you take a memory dump of that, it will extract the network packets from it. It will extract network packets from Cisco machines, from memory dumps from Cisco machines, from Windows, as you can see. It extracts from anything. And now you can see in let's open my folder. And here is our output. And we can open it in Wireshark. You already saw, we didn't see Mandiant red line yet. As you can see, you can extract a lot of information from a memory dump. Network capture, there it is. Anything more? So, what's next? Highlighter, manual highlighter. You open a log file, and you can right-click. I wanted to show you. I'll show you actually. I have it installed. Here's the highlighter. Let's say you have an ongoing investigation of some web server. Let's say an Apache access log. If you open the access log in Notepad, even Notepad++, you have a really difficult time analyzing it if it's 3 or 5 gigabytes, and it's frequent. You will analyze gigabytes of files. What do? You either search or you open highlighter. You don't need get feed in your log. You right-click it and select remove. And there are no more unneeded entries. This is all in memory. You don't modify the actual log file. Also important to notice when you're doing incident response. Copy the original. Work with the copy. Never work with the original. Remember that for hard drives, memory dumps, any evidence. Never work with the original. So we're working with the original just for the exercise. But let's see what else we can get. We want to remove information which is not interesting to us. 302. Here, move it. Sign up.
We don't need it. But we want to highlight proxy judge. Sounds suspicious, so we highlight it. And you can see here, you can see it highlighted throughout the wall. Here. Oops. There is a zoom. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show. You can only show proxy judge if you want. Show only. And that's your 3 GB wall. If you're only interested in specific entries, you can scope on them like a sniper on specific entries, and you only see them from a huge wall. It doesn't matter how big it is. So part of network forensics in analyzing logs is this application, extremely useful. It's in your field workbook. Network miner already showed it, Wireshark already showed it, XPico. QualShark is an application which is Wireshark in the cloud. If you need Wireshark, you don't have it installed, this is your tool. We just extracted packets from memory. You saw how that's done. And another useful tool is VirSolo. It will be useful in one of the exercises. We will have time, hopefully. There are many exercises which we will not have time to cover because we only have 30 minutes left. Oh, sorry. So there are a lot of exercises in the student workbook, much more than can be covered in 4 hours. So take your time, get the workbook, and go through all the exercises. They are public, published on in Sans edu. In Sans, you only have the questions. And you have the answers, but you don't have anywhere on the internet how to get to the answers. And this workbook gives you the answer, gives you the way how to get to the answers which are published on the Sans website. Here, solving the challenge. These are very easy. We won't go through them. The attack trace is interesting though, and we will go through this exercise because it's probably the most interesting exercise for today. Let's see if we have internet. We have internet now. Let's open VirSolo. There are several ways in solving this challenge. Let's open it and I will show you the actual challenge. And the challenge is a company has detected a breach. If there is a breach at your company, it will be very similar to this one. Very similar. So that's why we're going through this exercise. The questions are: which systems are involved? What can you find out about the attacking host? How many TCP sessions are contained? How long did it take to perform the attack? And so on.
all of these questions are probably going to be the same questions you will have in your company when you're analyzing a breach, if there is a breach. And we'll go through the solution right now. Is this open already? So first we run our pcap through Varastolo. It's in network forensics, pcaps, attack trace. It's already been analyzed. We'll see the analysis. And you see that it does intrusion detection on our pcap because it detects it's a pcap. It doesn't. It passes it through Snort and Suricata, the two most popular IDS tools. The benefit why you should be using Varastolo instead of installing Snort yourself. Well, the signatures for Snort are paid if you want the latest signatures, and these guys are already paying for the premium signatures. So why not use them? You get the Snort alerts and the Suricata alerts. Let's see what's going on here. Saucer attempt and a buffer overflow. And the Suricata is much more detailed. You see that there is a suspicious FTP transfer, which only Varastolo, just Varastolo, already gave you 1/3 of the answers for your challenge. And if this is a real incident and you have a buffer overflow somewhere on the network, you've captured it, and you have a malicious activity somewhere on the network and you've captured it, you can pass it through your own company's Snort and Suricata or whatever IDS you have, or you could pass it through Varastolo, and this will be one of your tools, just one of them. Then we can open the same file using Wireshark. Oops, something died. Let's see. File open. Desktop. Forensics pickup, attack trace. All right. So let's see what were the questions again. Which systems are involved? One of the questions was how long did it take to perform the attack, how many TCP sessions are contained in the file. So to learn which systems are involved, I believe there are just 2 IPs in this pickup. So you can answer that with 98 and 192 if you're writing down the answer. And what can you find about the attacking host? Well, you have to use your favorite information reconnaissance on the IP. And the attacking host is 98, 114, 205, 105, 102. Let me show you one of my favorite tools. It should be in the documents, actually. This piputils.com. Something died here.
And using this tool, what information can we find about the attacker? Well, the attacker is located in the state. This is the ISP, and we can learn what is the operating system using POF. And also in the meantime, we also have Wireshark open. And one of the questions was how many sessions there are. So we open statistics. Oops, not this one. Yes, and in the TCP tab we see that there are 5 TCP sessions. And you answer the question that these are 5 TCP sessions. And basically, how much time? We have 15 minutes. For those 15 minutes, I don't know, we won't be able to answer all of the questions. Let me think of what else we can cover in 15 minutes. Actually, everything is already covered there. Should be something interesting. Oh yeah, one of the other challenges was this company here suspects that one of their employees has sending secret files to the competitor. And they sent you a network dump. And the easiest way to solve this is to open it in Network Miner. We clear, remove selected files. Assembly, this is the challenge. Three files.
an obvious case. Work with called buffer over the victim. To read. See. You see the Sorry. Let's voice forensics. Yeah. To create take a while. It's now looking for files in unallocated clusters, in deleted files, in actual files, the whole file system. It reads through emails, through Outlook boxes, and reads the actual emails, reads the actual attachments. Takes a while. So I'll tell you a little bit about this case. This was an extortion, an actual extortion of somebody to pay a ransom for their daughter, who was around 20 something. And they sent her father a letter, obviously an extortion letter that he has to pay money. And this was the actual image collected from the machine, containing all the evidence related to the case. And I suspect many of the files which were unrelated were deleted because it's just 1.5 gigabytes. When it's done, we will be able to search the index file for clues based on already we have some information. We can search by the daughter's name. We can search addresses, which in a real case you will be already given this information. You will already know what are you looking at or what are you looking for, which helps. You have a deleted file search, which searches for deleted files. If you take the image properly, if you take the image using DD commands in Linux, or if you can take the image using some forensic toolkit, it will take bit by bit image of the whole disk, meaning it will also take the state of all clusters, irrelevant if they're part of the file system or not. So you will be able to use the
deleted file search on a properly acquired image. You can see the web browser activity of somebody. Oh, that's the browser. It's finished. You can retrieve hashes from the suspect machine. You can generate a rainbow table, or you can download the free rainbow table from OS Forensics site. Actually, the free version, you can use the free version for up to, as far as I remember, up to 500 megabytes of evidence. It has some limitation, but as with Network Miner, OS Forensics is just as good for in-house investigations, something you just need to quickly take a look at in your own company without buying the actual license. That's why I'm showing it. It's an open source tool, and it's cheap and it's useful when you're using the free version. What else? The raw disk viewer. I had a question. How do you determine from a file which doesn't have headers? Well, here you can view the disk raw in hex, so you can see all the files here if you know what you're looking for. Memory viewer only can view the local memory and dump the physical memory. It cannot analyze the memory as well as it can be done still collecting. The reason Mandiant is so slow is because this image, the Mandiant inside the virtual machine, is very slow. While we are not finished, I'll show you the Mandiant in my machine, and I'll open a previous investigation, a recent analysis. Let's say I don't remember which one was the good one, so I'll guess it was before. No. Let's open the Stuxnet image, which we were not able to open previously. Oh, it's not here. Anyway, I'll open something else. Go back to OS Forensics. So this is the actual, all the content of the image, and you are just giving the image, and the task they give you is find out what's going on. So we have emails. This email is not useful to us. This one either. obviously their software is not perfect. All right, something fails here, but I'll explain how it should have worked if Visual C++ didn't fail. It should have shown the emails between the criminals agreeing how to scam the father. It turns out that one of the criminals was the boyfriend of this girl, and he was following her around with a camera and taking images and sending images to the father. This is your daughter, we are following her, we'll kidnap her, and so on. As with any live demonstration, in the law of Murphy, we have failing application which is not showing the emails. That's why I have to explain. Sorry for that. I'll try to copy this collector. I'll try to copy it and open it on my machine. In order to do that, I need to create a shared folder. And let's say it's F mount it. Wow. Well, this lab failed. That's the issue with open source tools. If we were working with a paid FTK or Ncase, we wouldn't have this issue, but unfortunately the license for Ncase is several grand. So don't have this option. So here is our evidence. And in order to prove that this guy is actually a criminal, we need to take a look at all the evidence found and all the images found. And the way to solve this case actually looking at all of them. Difficult though. With this, here you see he takes a picture of her. Pictures. In one of them, he takes a picture of her, but he makes a mistake. And his mistake is his reflection is in the window with the camera, and you can basically put him in jail just with this mistake. But in order to find this mistake, you should look at hundreds of images, read all the emails. So it takes time. It definitely takes time. I don't know why it doesn't display the actual emails. Oh, here's the email. You see some of them are open, some of them are not. We can get her. And this is a zip file with images sent to her father. With some, again, they're sending the father some images here. They're setting up a fake web page between each other, discussing how they should set up the fake web page, how to place the images there. Here he is replying to an email where Bob is telling him, dude, you just send a picture with your you uploaded a picture with your reflection. And he replies that he will take care of it. A very interesting case.